All right, so I want to share something that I don't think it's going to make a difference, but maybe it's bringing, and right now it's bringing me like it could be because of what I just ate. I don't know. I'm feeling like a sense. I'm feeling like chills. I'm getting a little bit of chills and like a sense of a mix of like contentment and excitement at the same time, which is kind of crazy. But, because like for me, there's been a lot of intensity and a lot of weight and feelings of responsibility in the last however many years as a single parent. And then of course I was also like burning the candle at both ends when I was like in the beginning, when I was like working and going through stuff with my learning the ropes with my kid and everything. And at the same time until we moved into this house, I lived with my mom for a while, which was also kind of crazy. And then she started, after a time, there were fights even when I was with her. Like there was just gaslighting and just all kinds of like chaos. Like so much of it I can't even remember because it was just a lot all at once. I remember there's some different things that have been coming to me recently, and like I remember one of the times that my mom was, there's a couple things. One of the times that my mom was, she blew up at me, and I also have all drawn on these lines of like seeing a hypocrisy where it was like my mom would get irate and talk bad about someone or try to call them out on something, and then I would find out she was doing same kind of behavior and to somebody else or to me or something like that. So that was the other thing that was really crazy to me. And then I also came to the realization that one of the reasons that my mom was like the ringleader in this situation, because people enabled her behavior, and then the mother as well she didn't have that power when we were living with my dad, or like when we were living at the other house, because it was like my dad financed that. That's so funny, I didn't think about this. My dad financed that house, and he tried to get my mom to go back to work, but she said she wouldn't. And then so anyway, they would fight and stuff like that, but she didn't have the same power over him at that point. But then after they broke up, he got with another girl and she ended up passing away. That was really dramatic. She was also like on drugs and stuff, but and then he started coming back to my mom, and I think my mom, I don't know how it happened, because I thought that it was, at the time I thought it was because he was stepping in to help, but then when my mom kicked me out, she called on my dad to be like, will you guys get a place together or whatever. I don't know what went on, but how that happened. But I remember he came over to help my mom in the yard a few times, and that was like after that woman passed away, and he tried to use the excuse that she kept her away from his kids and stuff. And I was like, he never made much effort but to spend time with us. But I remember my mom blew up at me one time when I wish I could remember what she was so upset. Oh, I know what it was. We signed on this house on Friday the 13th. I had a class. It was a Friday morning. I had a class that morning, and then I got at the CLC. I don't think anyone came. And then we had to get ready, and we went to meet to sign all these papers. And I don't know what the place was called. I just remember going there and doing it, and it was like all women in there. It was just intense. But anyway, and then I had to go to this lawyer's office to sign this other paper because my mom wanted me to sign off that it wasn't my house because I wasn't financing it. because my dad couldn't co-sign on it because his credit wasn't, his credit was shot. So my mom and I had been going through this whole process to do IEP for the school system, and we were in all this, like, he got kicked out of the pre-K he was in. He had been kicked out of daycares, and I didn't know what we were going to do for school, because this was after that was after his diagnosis, and I was, no. Yeah. It was after his diagnosis, and I was like, I don't know what we're going to do for school going forward. We looked in different private schools and all kinds of stuff. So I went ahead and got the IEP with the school system. Someone else that had her kids on the spectrum had suggested it. It's the whole process to do it. So we got it started. And then the last meeting that I had with them, they were like, all right, we're ready for him to start next week. And they gave me all the information, and I was like, okay. And then I didn't know at the time that I could really like stand up and be like, no, I'm not okay with that. Or be like, I didn't know my rights until later. So I agreed to it, and it ended up, that was right before the shutdown too. So we had about 2 weeks of school that year and preschool before everything was shut down. But anyway, my mom found out the same day that we were signing the papers, and she chose to like blow up about it because I don't remember, of course, any of like the conversations. I just remember she brought me to tears because this was the same day that I was having to like sign on our house and everything else. And she was just mad that I didn't tell her what my decision was, or that she was like, I thought we were going to do this other school or whatever. Like it was like her choice type of thing. And then after that, she had, we had stuff at her place, and I guess she gave some of her furniture away to us or something like that. So she had some stuff she had to bring over, and they both have a key to our house because my dad also lived here for a while. And she came and she went and dropped it off, and then because me and my dad were living in a rental in downtown or outside of downtown Fairhope. And she said after she dropped it off over here, she drove over there, told me what she did. She like barged in through the door. My kid was there, and she just started gaslighting me and yelling at me. And she was like, this is the last straw. I don't remember the words that she used, but it was just very, one of those like just to be dramatic, but also like she was angry again, because after that, I don't think I had seen her, because it was like the next day. I think it was the next day, and it was the same weekend or 2 days later or something like that. And in that fight, in that whatever, this moment of what would you call it? Uproar. She said something about like, and John is still in love with you, and she like threw this random thing in about my ex, and it was like, I don't remember. I wish I had recorded some of these things, because it was just so wild. And I was just like, what is she talking about? And what does that have to do with anything? And, that's what one of the things, and there was another part of that, or not that, but like another situation where my brother's girlfriend, I think he's still dating this girl, I don't know, at least at the time, and my mom, I was there with, I was at mom's house. I think we were still living there at this point, or we were just over there that day, I don't know. Curry is her name. It was like safe to say her name. They were talking in the kitchen, and my mom was talking about John, and she was talking about how like, oh, I loved when they were together, because he just doted over her, and he just loved her so much. He just went on and on and on about it. And there was stuff like that would happen, and I was sitting right there, and later on, looking back, I'm like, no, like, I don't know that there was ever any like love between John and I just think it was like it wasn't super lustful, but I think it was just obsession. I don't think it was our what do you call it, like a fanatical kind of like, I think he just liked the image that I gave him or whatever, because it's very similar with the girl. When I met the girl he's with now, I'm like, she reminded me of me. Like I saw myself in her and stuff, and I could see the naivety, and I was like, oh man, like I hope that this works out for them and stuff. And that anyway, but because I didn't have our situation could have been a lot worse, especially because it could have been so much worse, having a baby with someone that you don't want to be with anymore, and then trying to co-parent. Like we were very lucky that it wasn't more dangerous. So, but you know, the way that things turned out with me and John, and like for a while he kept telling me that he was going to try to get a job that was closer, and he works with the government, so he is somewhat limited, but there's wildlife positions here, and I'm sure that I don't know how you even get involved in that or whatever, but either way, he never did that. He ended up he moved closer, but it's still way too far for it to be convenient at all. So he was in Missouri, and now he's in Atlanta somewhere. Or I'm sorry, he's in Georgia somewhere. And he's married with another baby, so it's a whole other family now. So anyway, I was gonna add that because it was like, I still don't understand this whole thing about like there's a few things. I don't know if I'm gonna get it out in time and enough time on here. All of my family tried to push me to get disability insurance. And this was like, my dad was the first one to actually say it to me, I think, when I was living with him. And then, it's weird, I was 11 when I said that. And then it moved, and then John kept harping me about it. He also got me on WIC when I was pregnant, and he's all about all that stuff because he works with the government. But in a way, I'm like, and my mom too was saying, you need to go through that process, you need to get on it, whatever. And I was always advocating for me to like, how I wanted support so that I could work. And we went through all different kinds of stuff. Like, Teddy's never been in full-time school. We had to do therapists. I agreed to that, and having them in our home, and I had to be here and all that. But I always wanted to work, and other people would say that to my mom, and my mom would even reiterate it to me that people had said to her, like, however the conversation went. I put lotion on my face and I'm breaking out now. We're out of coconut oil, so using what we got. And she would tell me all that, like, but it's like they get a kick out of the drama or something, like, and it's like, but it's like, you know, it's sick when you're the person that's going through it. And in a bigger way, like, I wanted to say all this to say that, like, I feel like in general, it's the falling in love with the process. And a lot of it for me is like realizing like what really my struggles have been, and learning how to calm myself down enough and like try to get back in touch with my inner child and find that connection again and feel safer in my body again. And all of that requires all of this time in isolation and by yourself and stuff. So it's like, it doesn't justify all these things that like happen with the people around you and the way they treat you, but it does all lead you back to yourself and to taking this slower journey and to like falling in love with the journey. I remember one time my mom said something like, maybe you'll marry a wealthy man, and like a rich man or whatever, because like they would say all this stuff about me on insurance, and my mom would throw in my face that I don't understand how money works and stuff, but they also weren't willing to help me to get a job so that I could start working, so that I could start learning all these things and start the process of, and instead I've had to do extreme budgeting and go into extreme survival mode because I'm not working and I chose to homeschool and all that. So like, that's what I mean. Like, I'm not putting it on them because it's like, it's also my choices, but it's like my ex wasn't here. My parents refused to help me with my kid to be able to, which I don't want them to help now. And I also was going to say too, that like, I still don't understand how my family makes their money. I know my mom like throws away credit cards before they accrue interest, but aside from that, I don't know. I know she works and stuff, but like, I don't know how they make the kind of money that they make is what I mean. And my dad is always like, he's lost jobs over time, different jobs, but like he always finds a way to get new ones and stuff. So they all have a way of making their money. And I think chasing money maybe is like a thrill for them. I don't know, but I'm like, I'm grateful in a way too now that I'm like, there's a lot about finances maybe that I still have to learn, but I want to be integral about it. I don't want to do crazy weird things and warp the system, mess with the system to try to get my money, or have to network with a bunch of people and do all this weird stuff. Like, I don't want to do that kind of thing to make money. So that's what I mean too in the bigger way, is I feel like it's like falling in love with the journey. And if these people in your life, they like have to make up stories about you to like, I don't know, make themselves feel better, or I have to poop right now and I'm trying to wrap this up. Oh my God, I'm at 15 minutes. Okay. I just think it's interesting because it's like they make a big, they're like, oh, it's always like this big drama when you're around these people, and they like need to talk about you and like put your name in their mouth, and all this. But I'm like, my life is actually super boring. And I find it interesting that like this obsession with not letting your kids get married, not have a union and all these things is like this big thing, because it's like, it's not actually, it's really about the individual journey of like you being connected to God and finding your path and like finding and getting in touch with your inner child again and all this. So it doesn't make the times where you get messed with and all that, like, it is very frustrating. It doesn't, and being gaslit and stuff like that. But like sometimes when it's something like crazy, sometimes it is just kind of like, if you can detach, it is almost like get your popcorn, because it is just like, what in the world? But it does take self-love to be able to do that. And I just find it so interesting to me that it's like you end up being like this thing that people are like trying to stop you from union and stuff like that, and yet it's like my life could not be more simple. Okay, I'm gonna stop there.